So this is where chapter 42 starts up at celebrations. Karna is in the belief that the Frith Guild will actually ruin Volke, and she wants to be the only person to ruin, and Fain wants to give them privacy again.
He's just, I know I stabbed you in the neck, but maybe you two want to have some alone time right now.
Maybe Fain's like, okay, like, do you guys really want that? Like, Volke, have you matured a little bit since the last time this opportunity arose, or are we still going off of that? So the whole crew of the Sun Chaser knows about Volke, and this is kind of a weird one because, again, it makes sense with the Steel Thorn Inquisitors knowing about Volke, having a nightmare. Okay, but the fact that the whole crew of the Sun Chasers knows about him, did like Karna go back to the Sun Chaser and was like, "Hey, everybody, I met this silly nightmare arcanist that." That's very gullible. Let me take his guild pendant? Yeah.
You should bet on him.
Right. And so the blacksmiths got money on Volke and the tourney. The captain's impressed that Volke's was allowed to not join the Steel Thorn Inquisitors Guild. That's impressive in itself.
He is the only nightmare arcanist outside of it, so he is standing in his own right there.
I still bet the guild master is probably like having his cards of all, like stat cards of all the nightmares, and not having Volke's is like, God damn it, it's not a complete set.
It'll be worth so much more once I get the set.
But it's complete. So Volke, in his ability to get close to Karna again, actually gets his guild pendant back. Finally.
About time.
Right?
He's gone a while without it.
I mean, again, apprentices lose shit. So Karna agrees to a favorite ode to Volke. And Volke's like, whoa. What do I have to do in return? She's like, I don't know yet. But I'll say this. It's not going to be illegal or anything objectively immoral. So that way you're okay.
Mr. Play by the rules.
Right. So at least she understands that Volke won't do anything outside of the rules. I think a lot of other people need to take this, and at least his enemies need to be like, "Hey, the dude don't play outside of the rules. Let's use that to our advantage here." But
she was the only one smart enough to figure it out. So
right. So the Sun Chaser really wants Volke, or at least to meet him. So she does tell Volke finally that after he agrees to her deal, that a ghoul arcanist was paying for odd jobs, like getting information on what trinkets are worn by the Knights, Draconic, and the Sky Legionnaires. And Karna was technically hired to steal a crown and then locating the rune stones, but that wasn't necessarily her job. She was mainly just to steal the crown. She did give them the information for it as part of it, so. But she did say that she actually didn't even steal the crown because she didn't want to. She felt guilty, I guess.
The lockdown happened before she could get to it, probably.
I wonder if her morals got in the way of stealing it.
Volke changed her.
Look at Volke being the good example.
The influencer.
Maybe he's Karna's knight in shining armor. Volke remembers that he has the occult compass available and does ask Karna to get any kind of ghoul trinket whatsoever so that he can actually track down this ghoul arcanist. Volke and Fain start taking their walk back to the inn. And Volke tells Fain that he talked to Zelfrey, and Zelfrey actually has agreed to train Fain. Fain says that Volke is too trusting, and I've got to agree with Fain on this.
Agreed. Easy agree.
Volke, I'm sorry, you're a bit too naive at times, and you got a big heart, and we all love you for it, but how has it not burnt you even worse than it already has?
He's gotten lucky. He barely escaped after Karna, and that could have been real rough.
Yeah, again, that's kind of what saved him, but again, it's just that how they're very lucky that he hasn't gotten kidnapped. Everyone was in Volke's room when he gets back, and they're all they're getting wasted in his room. Like Nicklin is sitting in a mug of ale, wasted.
I want to see that so bad.
Just Nicklin just passed out in a mug.
Just letting it soak into his skin. He says it's got self-aging properties with it.
Oh yeah, you gotta absorb that. He finds out that they're actually celebrating their win after the tournament, and they kind of just assumed that Volke was going to take off, which, kudos to them figuring out. So they decided they're just going to move the whole party into Volke's room so that when he does come back, supposedly if he came back, that he'd be there to celebrate with them. So ironically, they ask where Volke has been, and if they've been found out that he was with Fain. So Volke having a really crappy poker face is kind of like, I was with Fain. So the whole atmosphere in this room shifts. I imagine everybody that's hammered at this point is probably stone cold sober. And Addie, thankfully, does remind everyone to put it in the past and try to enjoy the present. Volke does agree that he will be responsible for Fain, and that if he makes Ilya uncomfortable whatsoever for any period of time, even for a heartbeat, that Volke will no longer associate with Fain. Volke does let Fain in, and immediately Zaxxas just starts going you're going to listen to this. We're in charge. You're going to listen to what I say because I'm in charge. And you're going to listen to what Ilya says because she's my woman.
I'm sure she enjoyed being called that.
I mean, they're in a new relationship. I imagine there's that oh, he just said that I'm his woman. A little bit of swooning. She's badass enough that she doesn't need to be called that. She can stand on her own. You know that for a fact. But
yes.
I imagine there's still that aw.
I'm his starfish.
Yes. Fain and Wraith were kind of okay, go ahead, start beating me up so that way I know my place.
And the guild just sits there what? We don't haze.
Yeah, how badly were you beaten on Callisto's ship? Everybody basically laughs at him, and they're yeah, we won't do that. You just need to step up, and that's all we're really going to ask you. And then Hexa comes flying bear hug toward Fain, so at least we know Hexa doesn't have a problem with them too much. And with that, we'd like to thank you everyone for listening today. We do want to remind you that we do post new episodes every Wednesday morning around 11 Eastern, 10 Central, and 8 Pacific Standard. We are on all podcasting platforms and are also on YouTube as well for video. And we do want to thank our editor, Dan Mackison, for including pictures and links for everything. And if you wanted to reach out to us, we are on Gmail at frithguildpod@gmail.com or on Facebook or any other social media at Frith Guild Podcast. We want to also thank Frith Chronicles Wiki as well, as it is a great resource for us to use. And again, link to everything down below in the description section for the podcast and YouTube channel. Thank you. And Scott, do you have anything else to add to this week?
Like, share, subscribe.
All right. We'll talk to you next week.